Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're tackling a topic that gets to the very core of who we literally are. We're looking at the fascinating origins of human intelligence. It's like a giant puzzle that has captivated psychologists, educators, and pretty much anyone who has ever wondered how our brains work. And today we're going to break down exactly what the data tells us. It all begins with this fundamental question. Why are some people more intelligent than others? I mean, are we simply born smart, carrying a predetermined intellectual blueprint hardwired right into our DNA? Or do we become smart, shaped and molded by the world around us as we grow? It's one of humanity's most persistent questions, and the answers are honestly incredibly revealing. Okay, let's dive into this. We're essentially looking at a high-stakes debate between heredity and environment. You probably know it best as nature versus nurture. On one side, we have nature. That's our genetic inheritance, the biological traits passed down from our parents before we even take our first breath. On the exact opposite side, we have nurture, our environmental conditions, meaning everything from the food we eat to the homes we live in to the schools we attend. Let's start with Section 1, the case for nature, hereditary influences. Now, what's really interesting about this data is how it lets us separate biology from upbringing. The strongest evidence for genetics comes from twin studies and studies on adopted children. Let's look at the twins first. Get this. The intelligence of identical twins who share 100% of their genes, raised together, correlates at an incredibly high 0.90. It's almost a perfect match. But even when they're separated early in childhood and live in totally different places, they still show a massive 0.72 correlation. Their intellectual, personality, and behavioral traits stay remarkably similar. Compare that to fraternal twins raised together, who share only about half their genes. Their correlation drops to almost 0.60. We can literally watch the intelligence correlation step down as genetic similarity decreases. And this pattern holds up perfectly when we look at standard brothers and sisters. Siblings raised together, sharing the same house, the same parents, and highly similar experiences have an intelligence correlation of about 0.50. This really highlights just how unique and powerful that 0.90 identical twin connection truly is. Even sharing the exact same environment, standard siblings are far less intellectually similar than identical twins. But here is the dramatic twist. If you take standard siblings and raise them apart in entirely different environments, the correlation in their intelligence absolutely plummets to just 0.25. It's a huge drop. This brilliantly illustrates the slipping grip of genetics when the environment is completely flipped. It tells us that while genes are absolutely foundational, they clearly can't be the whole story. Actually, scratch that. Before we switch sides, there is one final crucial piece of evidence for the nature argument. We also have studies of adopted children. Research consistently shows that an adopted child's intelligence is more similar to their biological parents, rather than the adoptive parents who are actively raising them. So our genetic roots really do cast a very long, very persistent shadow over our intellectual development. Which brings us to Section 2, the power of nurture. Environmental factors. Because genetics certainly aren't destiny, the environment plays a massive, undeniable role. Remember how I just said adopted children resemble their biological parents? Well, studies have reported a fascinating twist. As adopted children grow older, their intelligence levels actually tend to move closer to that of their adoptive parents. It's as if the prolonged exposure to the family environment, the daily interactions, the expectations, and the home culture slowly and steadily reshape their cognitive trajectory over time. And this impact is highly measurable. Just look at the trajectory of children from disadvantaged homes. When these children are adopted into families with a higher socioeconomic status, studies show they exhibit a very large increase in their intelligence scores. Moving from an environment of potential deprivation to one of enriched opportunity provides a significant, tangible boost to a child's overall intellectual capacity. The environment acts as a massive lever. So, what exactly are these environmental levers? Well, there's direct evidence that environmental deprivation actively lowers intelligence. Conversely, providing rich nutrition, establishing a good family background, and ensuring access to quality schooling demonstrably increases intelligence. These aren't just abstract concepts. They are powerful, everyday environmental boosters that actively build and enhance cognitive ability in real time. Let's pull it all together in Section 3, the final verdict, the grand synthesis. We've looked deeply at nature, and we've explored the power of nurture. So the crucial point is, how do these two competing forces actually work together? Well, there is a general consensus among psychologists today. Intelligence isn't just one or the other. It is the product of a highly complex interaction between heredity and environment. This is perfectly captured by this profound realization. Heredity can best be viewed as something that sets a range within which an individual's development is actually shaped by the support and opportunities of the environment. Think of it like a game of cards. Your genetics simply deal the hand, setting the upper and lower limits of your potential. But your environment, your education, your diet, your family support, that's how you play the cards. The environment determines exactly where, within that genetic range, you will ultimately land. Which leaves us with something very personal to ponder. We all have a genetic baseline for sure, but the rest is deeply influenced by the world we interact with every single day. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to reflect on this. How has your environment shaped your intellectual potential? What specific nurture aspects of your own life, maybe your teachers, your access to nutrition, your community, have helped you reach your cognitive peak? It's a fascinating puzzle to solve for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.